Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Blerdcalibur Podcast. It is me, the host with the most, Sen, and this week's format is going to be slightly different. Every week I try to cover everything from new news in the world of DC and Marvel and movies in general, and then move on to gaming. This week we're going to be focusing on three stories that essentially came across my desk and have been dominating my headspace for the last few days. The first person to introduce one of these stories to me, funny enough, is somebody that I do not follow because I cannot stand them. And that person is Pokimane. Now, if you are unfamiliar with who Pokimane is, she was someone that got in super early on the Twitch bandwagon and essentially cultivated a cult following of rabid, lonely men that donated ridiculous money and attention to her streams and essentially caused her to be one of the three biggest female streamers in the entire world. Of course, as with most things, once you make your money, you turn around and you look at the people who got you to where you were, and suddenly those people are disgusting subhumans to you, even though they're the ones who have essentially been supporting your entire run from the beginning. I'm not a fan of the way in which Pokimane does things, but as they say, a broke clock is right twice a day. And on her most latest podcast, we're actually going to play the audio clip. She actually said something that really resonated with me, and as I thought about it, actually goes a lot deeper than I thought it would. So we are going to play the clip from her podcast, and then we are going to essentially go over and add on to what she's talking about. Here we go.
Google Documents, PDF files, you know. I saw a whole YouTube video kind of doing a deep dive on this stuff where you can see these like TikTok pages that are quote unquote, ran by parents. I put a quote unquote around that because it's like, are you really a parent if you're being so goddamn irresponsible? But the entire TikTok page is for like a young child or a baby or whatever. And sometimes you'll even see that the parent is clickbaiting their child in inappropriate ways. Whether that's like involving nether regions, or if the kid is eating something and like the item is inappropriately shaped or what have you. I know some of y'all are sitting at home like, huh? But I promise you, this stuff is more common than you think. And I mean, that's kind of like a real extreme case. And you'll see on these TikToks, the video will have like 100,000 saves. Who is saving a video of like a 4-year-old eating a hot dog? What are you saving that for exactly? Huh? Actually, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And is some of the audience that's watching it like innocent? Is some of it normal? Blah, blah, blah. Of course. But there's still a section of it that is not. And I feel like parents need to be acutely aware of that and not even risk it when it comes to that stuff.
So, she's 100% correct. 40 years ago, the idea was if my child had a talent, if they were good at singing, if they were good at dancing, if they were good at sports, I could exploit my child's talent in order to make myself some money. You see this with actors. Macaulay Culkin's family is very big and well known for that in particular, which is he was a young child actor and he was making a lot of money, and his parents took advantage of the fact that he was making a lot of money to make themselves a lot of money. You see this in regards to Shirley Temple, where at an extremely young age, if you read her biography, it's fucking heartbreaking. where her parents basically sold her off to these older executives, and she had to play that role of like the innocent sweet child way into her teens and damn near almost adulthood, to the point that it almost destroyed her. So there's always been a space for talentless parents living through the talent of their children by exploiting them and taking advantage of them, and marginalizing them in some type of way that's exploitive. This has always been the case. We are now in an era where social media connects billions of people across the entire planet, where before it would take maybe a day, maybe less than a day for news on one side of the planet to travel to the other side of the planet. Now it's instant. I know what's going on in Myanmar. I know what's going on in China. I know what's going on in Rafa. I know what's going on in the EU. I know what's going on in South America, because when these things happen, they're instantaneously being recorded and they're being uploaded to Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or WhatsApp or any of the social media apps that we use to stay connected on a fundamental level just around the world in general. Now that we have entered an era where people can sit back and they can watch people create TikTok videos or YouTube shorts or Instagram videos, and these videos can be monetized and you can make money, serious money, where you don't actually have to work a 9 to 5 job under a manager, under other employees that you do not like, in a condition or a situation that causes you to be stressed out and absolutely hate yourself and hate the place where you're working. Now that there are these other options that are available, you're seeing a lot of parents that are essentially shoving this mantle of responsibility onto their children, and their children do not understand what is going on because it's being presented to them as though it's a game. Oh, let's go and make, a funny little TikTok where you eat this thing. Oh, let's go and do this funny little thing over here where, you do something goofy. Let's go over here and record a video. Constantly recording, constantly with a phone in their hand. I'm recording you when you eat. I'm recording you when you sleep. I'm recording you when you fall. I'm recording you when you cry. We just had a situation with the YouTuber Ruby Frank, where it turns out she'd been abusing her kids for years, and it didn't matter to her because she had to basically maintain this ideal, this standard that she had set for herself, that she had created around herself, that people had become accustomed to. And that's one of the things that people don't understand about social media. Social media is always about escalation. If I show up with $5 today, I gotta have a 10 tomorrow. I've got to have a 20 the next day. I've got to have a 50 the next day. I've got to have 100 after that. I've got to have multiple $100 bills. I have to have a stack of hundreds that was given to me by the bank. Then it has to become a suitcase. Then it has to become a car. Then it has to become a plane. And it's this constant attempt to keep up with the tempo of the escalation. You lose yourself. It burns you out. And that's for an adult. That burns out an adult. How many people have started their social media journey where they started making a whole lot of money and they instantaneously got burnt out by it? Or if they didn't get instantaneously burned out by it, it slowly wore them down. It beat down their mental health. It beat them down. They beat them down physically, where now they had physical health issues because they weren't taking care of themselves. There are thousands of stories along that way. But now you're taking something like that can burn out and destroy an adult, and you're placing that on a 4-year-old. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I need you to eat this way. I need you to laugh right now. I need you to cry right now. I need you to go run over there and play on that jungle gym. I need you to come over here and sit down. camera click, camera click, camera click, record, 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 and it's messing with that child's mental health to a point where I honestly believe that it's also messing with their ability to understand the reality around them, where they're constantly expecting to be essentially recorded and to have whatever's going on with them uploaded online. A lot of kids become introverted, where they're no longer showing emotion or interacting with people because they're essentially afraid that anything that they do out of step is going to be uploaded online for profit by their parents. And I do agree with her second point. A lot of the people that consume this culture, all of these videos, all of these things that are being created around children are nefarious. They are not consuming that with good intent. Pokimane is absolutely right, which I'm shocked that I'm agreeing with her, which is why are 100,000 people saving and downloading a video of a child eating a hot dog? Who's that for? What's that for? You can retweet it, sure. You can repost it on your page so that your friends can see it, sure. But why are you downloading it onto your mobile device or onto a folder on your computer for your own personal viewing pleasure? Who is that for? But then the question has to be asked, well, if this is brought to the attention of the parent, shouldn't the parent do something? Here's the thing. The parent doesn't care. They are there to make money. If pimping out my child without the nefarious parts of pimping out my child is an option, they're going to take that option. They know that 100,000 people downloading the videos of their kids are creeps, but 100,000 people downloading a video or watching a video on YouTube or watching a video on TikTok is a couple hundred to a couple $1,000s. They don't care because all they see are dollar signs, and it's not until that child becomes an adult, or it's not until that child finally becomes old enough to essentially say no and push back, like Ruby Frank's kids started pushing back, running away, going over to the neighbor to tell them that they're essentially being abused. It's not until it approaches a drastic step that needs to be and is being taken that they suddenly look up and go, but I was doing it for them to secure their future. No, you weren't. You weren't doing it for them. You weren't trying to secure their future. You were interested in essentially securing your own future because you did nothing with your life except have an exceptional child. And that's one of the things I feel as though our generation really has to take a step back and, in all honesty, look at social media and look at the effects that it's having, not only on each other and how just angry all the time everyone is online these days, but look at the damage that it, in all honesty, is doing to children. Segueing a little bit from this, but it's on the same parallel, you're also seeing a lot of women who started OnlyFans pages to make that money, and then retire from OnlyFans and then regret having done OnlyFans and then going to therapy, or in general taking their lives. You have a few of them that came out recently to Business Insider talking to them about the fact that they feel burnt out because they're dead inside. Because like I said, it goes back to the escalation that I said before. If today I have $1, then tomorrow I need $5, then I need 10, then I need 20, then I need 50, then I need 100. You constantly have to up your game. You constantly have to outdo yourself. And if the outdoing yourself is on OnlyFans and you're doing something physical to outdo yourself, eventually you're going to burn yourself out. Eventually you're just going to essentially make your entire body numb. And that is another side effect of this social media space that we live in, which is everything that you do and you put online stays online. No matter if you delete it, no matter if you get rid of it, it is there. Somebody has it saved to a folder somewhere. And you could think that because you deleted it and you think that nobody saw it back then, that one guy who was your fan anonymously, who donated to you every single month, downloaded each and every one of your videos, and you're going to say something and you're going to piss him off, and he's going to upload everything online, and the nightmare begins again, because that is the world we live in. Everything, once it's online, remains online. It's never actually gone. And you're seeing a lot of them have to tackle with the fact that their children are now going to school and are being bullied because kids are smart, and they're now Googling each other's parents to see whether or not their parents have OnlyFans accounts. There's just this, social media has created this seriously insane and fucked up dynamic that baffles the mind. It completely baffles me how we got here, because it really felt as though we were on this really great trajectory of interconnecting everyone, so that there was this constant flow of information. I remember when TikTok first started, there was a TikTok channel of this guy that he lost his daughter, and he created a TikTok channel about teaching young kids things like a dad. Like, hey, if you lost your dad, I lost my daughter, I'm here to help you out. I remember when TikTok was wholesome, where TikTok was just that, dancing, and then call me Chris skits. And then it just went left, and it never got back on trajectory. And like I said a second ago, it is now just people, for the most part, either laughing at memes or screaming at each other. There's no civility anymore, or no attempt at an understanding. Will this ever change? I honestly don't think so. I think that the mask that social media creates, where you can detach yourself from your real identity and put on this visage that protects you so that other people can't see who you actually are, that level of mysteriousness has really allowed people to essentially just let loose all of their most negative, scary, destructive, racist, homophobic, just nastiest thoughts without any repercussion in any way, shape, or form. Sure, every once in a while, one of them is dragged into the sunlight and they burn to a crisp, but that is far and in between. We're talking about probably 0.000000001% of individuals that are actually exposed for being just cretins. Will it ever fix itself? I don't know. I don't see current social media in any way, shape, or form moving in a direction where it's going to be able to fix itself. I think it's going to require us as a society coming together and looking for solutions in order to protect our children, and also in order to protect ourselves. But as long as social media exists as something that people can use to not only exploit their kids, but also to exploit each other in order to make a quick buck, it's always going to remain a gigantic fucking cesspool. And that is the end of our first topic. Like I said, the topics today, well, at least that first topic was going to be a little bit heavy and a little bit different from what we usually talk about. Now we're going to actually jump back into the entertainment side of things, talking about Game of Thrones. So, George R.R. Martin criticized screen adaptation of books because they never make it better. He was speaking with, and hold on for a second. Oh, I'm sorry. I believe it was to his personal blog. Yes, it was to his personal blog. He was speaking to his personal blog. If anything, things have gotten worse. Everywhere you look, there are more screenwriters and producers eager to take great stories and make them their own. It does not seem to matter whether the source material was written by Stan Lee, Charles Dickens, Ian Fleming, Roald Dahl, Ursula K. Le Guin, J.R.R. Tolkien, Mark Twain, Raymond Chandler, Jane Austen, or, well, anyone. No matter how major a writer it is, no matter how great the book, there is always seems to be someone on hand who thinks he can do it better, eager to take the story and improve on it. The book is the book, the film is the film. They will tell you that as if they were saying something profound. Then they make the story their own. They never make it better, though. 999 times out of 1,000, they make it worse. He is absolutely fucking correct. We are going to take two examples. We're going to take The Witcher and we're going to take Star Wars. And funny enough, we're also going to take his Game of Thrones, especially the last few seasons of Game of Thrones, where there was no longer a source material, and Dan and Dave were essentially the ones writing it. In regards to the Witcher books are rich. Not only are they rich, they really do a really good job of exploring who Geralt is as a person, how he feels about certain things, like, for instance, how he feels about being a Witcher and how he views the role of a Witcher, but also how he views himself in society surrounded by his friends. The shows did not do that. The Witcher show on Netflix essentially decided to only focus on Henry Cavill's sex appeal because they thought it would be easier to essentially draw in female fans, which is what they were going for. They were like, Henry Cavill is hot. He's this gorgeous hunking tower of a man. We are going to put him in leather. We're going to have multiple situations where his shirt's going to be off, or he's going to be taking a bath or a shower or something along those lines. And we're going to create a romance story around both his character of Geralt and I almost said Triss Marigold. Oh my god. I completely forgotten the name of this is going to absolutely annoy me. I'm sorry. I've completely forgotten the name of Yennefer. Jesus. A romance between both him and Yennefer, while ignoring the trials and tribulations and the heartbreak that they essentially go through before they end up in a situation where they can be together and that they can raise Ciri as kind of like their adoptive daughter, right? It was more like, oh, I'm gonna write it more as a romance show than as a show that has politics, both gender politics and actual politics that actually makes you question the role of good or evil, or how essentially we view both good and evil, and what is the role of someone who is only supposed to hunt evil. At what point in time does that person become the last evil thing that you need to hunt? There are a lot of really, really good topics that the Witcher books basically go over, such as selling your child into this form of slavery where they're going to be bound to a brotherhood that's going to not only experiment upon them, but gouge out their eyes and replace them with superhuman eyes or something along those lines, in regards to like a 6-year-old child that this is happening to. All of that removed, skimmed over, doesn't matter. We need Henry Cavill to look into the camera and smolder. We need the actress who plays Yennefer to look into the camera and pout. We need to drum up and sell the romance and sell the idea of just this family, instead of selling essentially the story of this entire world. Now, moving away from that, you have Star Wars, which there are some diehards here who will tell you that Disney shit the bed the second they moved away from George Lucas's vision for Star Wars. And in all honesty, I really do feel as though the problem with Disney Star Wars is that there were way too many cooks in the kitchen. The decision to not have one main team writing the stories for the 3 sequel films, and instead handing them individually to 3 different directors with 3 different directing styles that were essentially going to contradict each other, who were not required to read the scripts of the director that came before them before they worked on their film, was asinine and insane, which led to essentially the major issues that the Star Wars sequel trilogies ended up having. Now, of course, we have multiple more issues that are about to occur with the arrival of the Acolyte and the fact that Taika Waititi is over there somewhere in the fucking corner, tee-hee-ha-haing behind a couch, saying that he's writing a Star Wars film that's going to piss people off because it's going to be a Taika Waititi film. This product in the movie space, because on the show space, is doing absolutely fantastic. Dave Filoni is essentially exploring all of the correct paths that you're supposed to take when you choose to explore something that's mysterious and deep and rich as the Force, while the movies is just like, nah, we just throwing stuff at the wall and we're trying to see what sticks. But on the final topic of piggybacking on what George R. R. Martin said in regards to Game of Thrones, he has personal experience with this, which is the first few seasons of Game of Thrones are absolutely fantastic, beautiful writing, barely any dick jokes, and then once his books no longer had any material for them to steal from, it became dick jokes, pissing contest, you're my queen, or whatever the hell Jon Snow kept telling Daenerys in freaking season 8, until it just gets absolutely derivative. Characters are making decisions that make no sense. A character with a 5-head genius IQ is suddenly writing strategy on a kindergarten level because, of course, you think that this is in some way, shape, or form clever to dumb down a character and to subvert expectation, blah, blah, blah. So George R. R. Martin has perfect experience with dealing with someone that, or should I say, dealing with people that took his product, diluted his product, attempted to push the product as essentially being from him that it's still gold, and then having that product absolutely turn to shit. But also, he has a very, very rare look out at how Hollywood is essentially getting boring. And what I mean by that is Hollywood is essentially entering this space where everything they're doing is either a sequel, a prequel, a reboot, or an adaptation of something that we've already had before. And like he said, 999 times out of 1,000, they're shit. It's garbage. It's not good at all. It in all honesty just makes you not even want to deal with it in any way, shape, or form. We're going into a weekend where, in my opinion, Furiosa is probably one of the currently 10 best films that's come out this year. I would happily slide Furiosa into like 4th or 5th place. But the situation that you currently have is people didn't want a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. If there was going to be another Mad Max Fury Road, they wanted another one that had Max in it. Not a lot of people were interested in essentially discovering Furiosa's backstory in any way, shape, or form. So it didn't matter if it got ridiculously great reviews. It doesn't matter if it has fantastic action sequences. It doesn't matter if it has probably Chris Hemsworth's best acting of his entire fucking career. None of that matters. Why? Because a lot of people are burned out from the prequel sequel thing that is currently happening in theaters that filmmakers are just shoving down our throats on a monthly basis. As a direct result, I think the film is currently sitting at, let's actually look to see how Furiosa is doing. Furiosa Mad Max Saga is currently sitting at 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is absolutely fucking insane. It was on a budget of 168 million, and over the weekend, including Memorial Day, it made 68 million dollars. Will it remake its budget of 168 million? Probably. It'll probably remake it over like the next few weeks, hopefully the next few months. But we've entered into a space currently where if a film does not do good, such as what was the Ryan Gosling film? I think it was Fall Guy. If it doesn't do good, 2 weeks after it comes out in theaters, it gets games from theaters, it gets thrown straight into on demand. So it really doesn't give it a chance to make back that money it should have made back if it had done its full theatrical run. But we'll see in regards to Furiosa. I think George R. R. Martin definitely hit it on the head. I am also going to need him to stop doing interviews and stop writing shit on his blog and hurry up and finish the next Game of Thrones book. We've been waiting for a few years now. I'm getting old. He's getting old. I feel as though I'm going to be here a little bit longer than George R. R. Martin's going to be here. Fingers crossed. Praying to God. But yeah, like I'm gonna need him to stop writing truth such as this on his blog and finish up those last chapters of Winds of Winter. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, because this episode is going to be a short one. We're probably only going to be running at about 35-40 minutes, is Star Wars. Funny enough, because Kathleen Kennedy came out with a half truth, in my opinion, which is Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy talks about the struggle of female filmmakers with toxic fans. Now, here's the thing. I will never defend Star Wars fans. As a Star Wars fan, I will never take time out of my day to defend Star Wars fans because this fandom is 20% great, 80% shithead. And what I mean by that is the 20% are the ones that go to Disney 20 or the Disney Expo, where they cheer on Hayden Christensen and all of the other members of the prequels who didn't get the love that they deserved back in the day. They cheer them on, they clap for them, they make them feel loved. That is the 20%. And that 20% is beautiful. The other 80% are screaming shitheads who I will never defend in any way, shape, or form because of how much I think they're assholes. So Kathleen Kennedy is correct. The toxicity inside of the fandom is definitely a struggle for female filmmakers. It's also a struggle for female actresses, or should I say female actors, who take on these roles in Star Wars, either to continue their career or have it be a launching pad for their career, or maybe it's just like the next thing they decide to work on because they always wanted to be in a Star Wars property, who get instantly harassed, instantly bullied, death threats, sexist jokes, sexist threats, all this other type of crap that they didn't have to deal with before they took on Star Wars. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. It's a pain. I can understand why a lot of women who have been a part of Star Wars or were essentially in the running to be a part of Star Wars either dropped out and said no thank you because they didn't want to deal with that, or they just simply don't come back. They're just like, yeah, no, did it one time, not interested in coming back and doing it again. 100% understand. However, I do find myself disagreeing with her in the idea that it's a terrifying or struggling experience because all of the female filmmakers are attacked. I disagree in that regard. In regards to The Mandalorian, Bryce Dallas Howard has been doing a fantastic job with the episodes that she has essentially put forward for The Mandalorian, to the point that she is beloved. She is well liked by the Star Wars community that has consumed the Mandalorian content, that has drunk the Mandalorian Kool-Aid. To the point where a lot of people were essentially, when they were saying, hey, we're looking for female directors to, essentially create Star Wars films for, our foreseeing ongoing universe. A lot of people basically turned around and pointed, me one of them, in Bryce Dallas Howard's direction, were like, hey, you have a fantastic filmmaker that has basically directed some of the best action scenes in The Mandalorian, or has had some of the best episodes in The Mandalorian. Maybe you should just hire her instead to go off and they hire somebody else completely that we've never heard of before, that goes up on stage and says that, no, I'm completely changing the way in which the Force works. Force is no longer like this entity that you've never seen before. The Force is a woman that doesn't like men, and it's like, really? And if you think I'm joking, I definitely think that there are some people out there that think I'm kidding. But no, go look up the comments made by the director of The Acolyte. And it's just like, what are you doing? What are you in all honesty doing? Like, why even step out of the house this morning to promote your new show with this type of energy, knowing that the response you're going to get is going to be from a million angry, buzzing shithead bees? Why do that to yourself? Why subject not only yourself, but also the actress that you're working with to that level of vitriol with those dumbass comments? But that's neither here nor there. I don't think that Star Wars has a female filmmaker struggling to be a part of the fandom problem. I believe that there are a ton of female directors and producers who have done work on not only Ahsoka, but also The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, the show side of the, I shouldn't say show side, the Disney Plus side of things that are beloved and loved. However, I do believe that the female filmmakers that she's talking about who are struggling with toxic fans are the ones who have basically come out of their neck with just the most wildest and outlandish takes on common sense Star Wars that pisses people off. Where it's like, hey, this is how the Force works, this is how the Force has always worked, and then you have somebody coming in that you're passing this torch to, you're like, hey, we want this female director to work on this project because we think this is going to be absolutely great. And when that female director steps up to bat, the first words out of her mouth is something along the lines of, yeah, I'm making this only for females, you know, fuck all you men. I'm not creating this for you guys in any way, shape, or form. The Force is not a man, the Force is a woman. If you have a problem with that, you could just stop being a Star Wars fan. You're like, holy shit, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. Hold on, we've only just met. You can't just instantaneously become the villain. You have to work towards that. Even Darth Vader started off as Anakin before he became a bad guy. It's like, you're just jumping straight into the opposite end of the pool. Those are the people that are basically dealing with the toxic fan base. They're the people that, you know, like I said, they step out with these outlandish takes with this agenda that doesn't really make sense when you write it down on paper. It's like, what are we working towards? What's the plan? Yeah, no, it's not adding up. 1 + 1 is not equaling 2. If anything, in regards to you, 1 + 1 is equaling like 7. Those are the people that are currently dealing with the vitriol from the fans. If Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm and Disney actually wanted to listen to Star Wars fans, we would have had an Old Republic movie by now. We would have had a Mandalorian movie by now that actually dealt with Mandalorians, probably Neo Crusaders versus the Jedi. We would have so many other projects off of the ground and probably made that people have been asking for, that they would have loved to throw money at. But it's this idea that, oh, Star Wars is stale, so we have to constantly change it or change its source and make it different and reimagine it and retool it and rework it. It really does get back to what George R.R. Martin said, which he said 999 out of 1,000 of these reimagining of people's works end up being shit. Star Wars is another case study in essentially what Mr. Martin wrote on his blog. But yeah, like I said, this was going to be like a super short episode. I didn't have that much time this week, and these were basically the 3 major stories that dominated just my frontal lobe headspace for the last few days. Next week is going to be a little bit more interesting because Destiny 2 The Final Shape comes out, and your boy took off all week because he is playing that game nonstop. So whether or not I take some time out of my Destiny play and my downtime to do a podcast, or if you just stop in on stream to say hello while I am playing Destiny for probably like 40-50 hours straight, we shall see. Because chances are, I feel as I'm been playing it for about 3 days straight, and then your boy is going to pass out and wake up to fight the Witness and end this 10-year saga that I've essentially been on. But that's the end of this podcast. If you're not subscribed to the main YouTube channel, please do subscribe to the main YouTube channel. We try to do this every single week, and then I let you guys know whether or not we're going to be missing a week the following week. I also stream on YouTube on a daily / not really daily basis, and when we come back for our next episode, we're definitely going to be back to the old format where we're talking about DC news, Marvel news, entertainment news, and video games again. But thank you for stopping by, listening to the episode. I hope you're safe. I hope everything in your life is going well, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.